of mine. You found someone new, but I can't change my love the way that you do.
This is the story of a lost neighborhood and of its people who did not want to go.
I don't want no money. I want my home. The old man is old. See how the old man is old? No more. That's enough. I don't want to get out. I said to my two daughters, they don't want to get out too because they spend a lot of money. Plenty of money they spend in this place. We not get none to nobody. Never.
Hi, welcome to the West End Video Newsletter. Tonight I'm going to do a show that's near and dear to my heart. Because I had a brother that died in the Second World War. I had a brother that served in Korea too, but my brother died and killed in action in the Second World War, and Memorial Day is here, and nobody cares about what happened to West End veterans. When they tore the West End down, they tore down all the West End signs, and they tore down all the any memorial that was there. So it irks me, and every year I send letters to the Globe, and I send letters to the Herald, and I complain about, and you know, I keep hearing, lest we forget, but what they really say about West End veterans is, let's forget. We don't have to remember them. You know, for everybody else, it's lest we forget. For West Enders who fought in the Second World War in Korea, and even the First World War, who fought all that time and helped save this country, there are no memorials, and there are no any of the mementos that were left over. They tore everything down in the city. Shame on them for not even, they won't even put anything back. But be that as it may, today I want to introduce Jimmy Noe. Jimmy Noe was in, what is that, the 4th Infantry, 3rd Infantry? He was in 3rd Infantry, and he fought in Korea, and he was with Joe Annello, who was another West Ender who won the Silver Star in Korea. Matter of fact, you have a picture here, right?
Yes, I have a picture of Joe Annello and me and the Charlestown Korean Memorial, which is near the Constitution. And Joe's living in Crystal City, Colorado, and he came for a visit a couple of years ago, and him and I went there. And it was kind of touching to see all the names of everybody from the Boston area and all the outfits and all the wars that were fought in Korea, the names of the villages and the mountains and the hill numbers and what have you. The hill that I was on was Little Gibraltar Hill, and the peaks were called Dagmar because of the shape.
And we have some video of Joe Annello. He was interviewed by somebody?
Yes, he was interviewed out in Colorado, and his daughter brought a copy of the video for me to keep. Well, which I appreciate. She done that. She met me at the Meadow Glen Mall, and I didn't recognize her again. I met her once before, and she recognized. She asked somebody, "Where's Jimmy Noe?" And says, "Oh, there he is," and she gave me the video.
Okay, let's watch the tape. Okay, Joe, roll tape.
I became a POW in Korea on the 24th of April, 1951. My unit was in a defensive position on what we call the Kansas line, right near the Injum River, which was north of Weejumbu. We got hit by an overwhelming force of Chinese that evening, approximately 2 divisions, I understand. We fought them pretty heavily most of the night. But eventually we were overpowered and overrun. I had got shot in the legs and I fell down. And as I was going down, I got hit by a grenade. When I woke up the following morning, I was a prisoner of war. There was a Chinese trooper standing over me with a bayonet prodding me to get up. I couldn't walk, so they dragged me down to the hill to an area where they had the other POWs that they had collected. We stayed there for about a day, and I was there with a couple of good friends of mine, Hershey Miyamura and Gene Ramos, who were also with my unit. And Hershey helped to carry me for about 10 miles, but the Chinese thought I was slowing down the column, so they ordered Hershey in to throw me at the side of the road. I stayed in a ditch for about 2 days. I couldn't move, I couldn't walk, and losing a lot of blood. Another Chinese unit that was going to the rear saw me. They picked me up, and they put me on kind of a push cart, and they took me north, it's about 35 miles, where I met a couple of other POWs. One was a Turk from the Turkish brigade they had there. One was from my company. One was an Air Force pilot who was belonged to the Mosquito Squadron and had got shot down. He got hit in the belly of the aircraft and it burned, and he had to parachute out. He was the only one that could walk. The other two friends of mine, Dave McNabb and Billy Christopoulos, they were wounded probably a little worse than I was. We were in pretty bad shape. The Chinese didn't feed us. They didn't do anything for us. The pilot that they shot down, Lieutenant Shattuck, was allowed to roam freely within the area. He picked up grass and roots, anything that was edible. In fact, he swapped his flight jacket for a sack of gruel from a passing Korean farmer. And I don't know if you've eaten gruel or not there, but it kind of tastes like chewing on sand. So we had plotted to escape. Lieutenant Shattuck and I, in the evening, we would crawl up on a hill above the house that we were in, and we got straw, and we set up a POW sign. And we came back, we drew straws about who was going to escape, him or I, and he decided he had a better chance of escaping than I did. And he had left me behind because I could hobble around a little to take care of the other POWs. One evening he just left the hut and walked on down to the Injun River like he was getting us some water, and he kept going. He swam down the Injun River for about 2.5, 3 days in the frigid water and ice. A very heroic trek for him. He almost got caught a couple of times when he encountered a couple of North Koreans. He finally made contact with the 1st Cavalry Division, explained the story, and being a pilot, he knew how to direct them to our position. He told them that we had erected a POW sign, and he told them that he'd left me behind with the group to kind of look out for them. The next day, when he was gone, the Chinese came in and they wanted to know where the officer was, and we just indicated that some other Chinese unit took him up north, I guess, for interrogation. So they just kind of left, shook their heads. Anyway, 3 days later, very early in the morning, about dawn, we had a flight of Corsairs, Navy Corsairs, piloted by Marines. They came in and strafed the whole area that we were in there, all the way around the hills, where the Chinese were maintaining the security. And there was about 2 sorties, if I remember correctly. And then there was about 5 or 6 tanks, I'm not sure of the number, from the 5th Cavalry Regiment of the 1st Cavalry Division came in. They blazed the area, and they surrounded the hut that we were in, and they took us out on stretchers and put us on the leeward side because we were still getting a lot of fire from the hills. But anyway, they came about 45 miles deep into enemy territory, and they got us, and they brought us back to the 1st Cavalry headquarters. My good friend, Sergeant Hiroshi Miyamura, we also call him Hershey for short, that evening we were on the hill. He earned the Medal of Honor. He killed about 50 Chinese, and he defended his positions until he was overrun. He was wounded also. And as I mentioned previously, I met him down in the collection area, and being old friends, he carried me for about 10 miles, even though he was slightly wounded, until the Chinese made me go. But he was a prisoner for almost 3 years. And he told me that it's a good thing that I didn't go with him, because I would have never made the trek. They were shooting the prisoners that couldn't keep up with after that point. But he and Gene Ramos there suffered quite a bit in it, particularly in the area of food. They had very, very little food, and they went through the motions of attending these brainwash type sessions that the North Koreans had, but they said it was so laughable that nobody could believe what they were saying.
That was Joe Annello, who was served in Korea, and he won the Silver Star. And this that came from a video called Veterans Among Us. Like I say, the problem with a lot of this stuff, I just want to show some pictures of my brother Frankie died in the Second World War. Okay, he was killed in action in Italy on October 21st, 1944. And I think it's a shame, okay, and I got to reiterate this more and more because it bothers me every year more and more, that the city of that people who lived in the West End and fought for the country and saved the country don't have any recognition of it. My brother, if I want any recognition for him, I have to put it on a fence in Somerville or in a porch in Somerville. There is Major Dominic A. Prado Sr., okay, was in the Second World War and in the Korean War. And I believe he won the Silver Star. Anyways, he won a major medal. I forgot exactly which one it is. But he is now on a street sign in Somerville because even though he was a West End vet when he was fighting in the West End, when he was from the West End, and his family moved to Somerville after they tore the West End down, the only way he gets recognition is by a different city.
Tony Shuko of Sultan.
Right.
He was with the Blue Devils in the Second World War, the 88th Division.
That's my brother's outfit.
Right, that was your brother's outfit.
Right. And they recognized them where in Stoughton, right?
In Stoughton.
Yeah,
right.
So West Enders, to get any recognition, they fought for this country out of the West End, were drafted out of the West End, and fought for the country, right up until the Second World War and the Korean War, and nobody cares. Like I said, instead of lest we forget, it's let's forget. And it irks me. And I think that some of these politicians should get off their high horses and should get out there and do something about putting back the veterans' memorials that were torn down in 1958. And basically, I guess that's about all I have to say.
And also add some.
And add some, too,
some,
exactly.
Sure.
I mean, that's a shame what they've done. Okay, we have a whole lot to talk about. What was your outfit and where did you serve?
I served in the 3rd Division in Korea during the war. I was with the 15th Infantry Regiment. We called the can-dos because supposedly we can do anything. And I was there for a full year. In fact, we were under fire for 11 months, and I got 11 months of combat pay because we were under fire. If you were under fire, at least, I think it was 9 days out of the month, you would get extra money, and I got extra money for 11 months of combat pay.
Yeah, and you fought where? Basically in northern Korea
I fought
or southern Korea?
in what we call the Iron Triangle, which was west of Chowan and not far from Panmunjom, where the peace process took place, and along the Imjin River, and the hills in my area were
Matter
called...
of fact, we have some pictures of you when you were over there.
Here's me with one of my posts. I was in communication, but communication only lasts part of the day. Then you have to go up and man a post, and like not only I, everybody. Well, we all did it. A couple of guys and this foxhole here, and here's another picture. This was with a 50 caliber machine gun, and we had British hand grenades. Because at the time we were short of our own hand grenades, but you know we made do it because we had the United Nations there with us, and we're fighting communists, and we're the ones that put a halt to communists starting to spread way back where we started in 1950, and to put a halt to it, and we're still trying to contain some areas, but now we're getting along better with the communist country because they're all becoming sort of a democracy, which is good for everybody,
Capitalist.
including themselves.
That's right.
Right.
But in those days, we had the whole world was starting to coalesce into communist countries, and if
Right.
somebody didn't do something at that time,
Right.
it probably would have spread much farther. You
So
know?
we're all heroes for the Korean War, World War II veterans, all West Enders.
That's right. And you received a commemorative award?
Yes, I got this from the state of Massachusetts. I got this here for serving in Korea during the war.
There were a lot of West Enders in the Korean War that were veterans. Too bad that we didn't have time to get most of them here.
Right, and we had a lot of Korean War veterans that didn't actually serve in Korea. They served in Germany, they served in the islands, they served everywhere because it looked like the war was going to break out anywhere, anywhere in the world at the time. So we needed these guys, even though they weren't in combat. They were in some weird situations where the combat could have broke out any second, and that was our first line of defense, especially in Germany and other places, even Japan, because that was our supports.
Do you remember any other West Enders that were?
Oh yeah, a lot. Well, being from Wall Street in the West End, I remember the Bettinellis, the Napolis, the Solanos, the Silvestros, the Sados. Everybody served. The Legitimacies.
Well, in those days,
Legitimacy and the other Legitimacy family, my cousin. But the whole West End everybody was in the Second World War, and most of them were in the Korean War also.
And there were some people like you remember Jack Fitzgerald and Eddie Fitzgerald. They were the sons of John I. Fitzgerald's sons. And Jack Fitzgerald fought in Guadalcanal, and I guess he had he won quite a few awards there. He fought, and they had a real tough time. But Jack was in the Marines. He was a major or a colonel in the Marines, and he really put a lot of time in. If I had time to call up Eddie Fitz, I would have got him here too, because Eddie talks about his brother and himself.
And I had two brothers in the Second World War. My brother Camilo was with the 7th Infantry Division. He was in the invasion of Leyte in the Philippines, and he was also in the invasion of Okinawa. And he got 2 beachheads arrows on his medals, and my brother Vincent, which we call Wiji, Noe, he served with the 94th Division. He was wounded twice and was captured, and he was with the 94th Infantry Division, and he went through hell only from the wounds alone. But what we did our part to save the country, and we were all from the West End. Well, and we're from a Sicilian immigrant family, and
well, in those days there was what would you call it? A caste system, not a caste system, but what you did was you fought for your family first, then for your corner, then for your neighborhood, and then for your country.
Yeah.
But you fought, okay? You would not let anybody come in and push you around. Nowadays, there's none of that. None of that seems to be. Now everybody's sort of pacifistic. I mean, and I don't think that's bad. I'm not a warmonger. I don't think people should go out and get shot. But there are times when war is inevitable, and you have to do something to stop what's out there.
Second World War, whether we like it or not, we got to support the troops. So whether we like, especially what's going on now in Iraq, some people don't like the idea, but we got to support the troops until they're back home.
I'm not crazy about this war.
Me neither. And the guys from the West End, they really, everybody was a hero. I don't care if you served in battle, they were all heroes.
If you get shot at, you're a hero.
Yeah, and even if you didn't get shot at, just to serve, just to serve them 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Some of them guys in the Second World War got stuck in, and they did like 6 years. They did because they were in from the beginning. Like Frank Legitimacy, he was in. He was in from way back. I think he served 6 years altogether.
Yeah. My brother Frankie graduated from Commerce High School in Boston in 1940, and I think he was drafted the beginning of 42, and he was in the Army up until 44 when he died. Unfortunately, my father had died 2 months before that, and we found out later, someone had said, and this is hearsay, I don't even know if that's true or not, that he probably could have came back for the funeral if they, if we had put into the Red Cross. But I don't know if that's true or not. If that was just somebody's, somebody coming up with a pipe dream, I don't know. But we lost 2 in that, at that time, and unfortunately, we weren't the only ones that were putting out gold stars at that time. Which brings me back to one of the reasons I'm doing this story is that I remember my mother crying and receiving the notice, and all these people went out and fought for their country and did what was right, and then you had bureaucrats come in and run over the whole West End and wipe it out. And maybe they had good intentions, but if they had good intentions, at least rectify what's going on now. come back and do what's right. Get us a monument for West Enders, West End veterans. It's a shame what's happening. It really irks me. I guess I show that. Anyways.
And another thing, along with two brothers of the Second World War, one in Asia, the other one in Europe, I also had a brother that was caught in he was in the Italian army. He was like actually brothers fighting against brothers because he got stuck over there when my mother and father came to this country from Sicily. He got stuck over there and he became an Italian soldier. You had to join up with the fascists or not. You wouldn't get nothing.
It's the same in this country.
So but that was ironic how he got stuck. Brothers fighting against brothers.
Did he survive?
Oh, he survived. Yeah,
that's good.
He survived. The British went in that part of Sicily, Augusta, and they captured him. And
Okay, you received quite a few medals while you were over there.
yes.
Would you like to tell us something about them?
The top one is my patch. It's a 3rd Infantry Division patch, and this is the Combat Infantry badge, which I'm really proud of. You have to be in combat to get this. And General Fleet, with all the medals that he ever got, he said the Combat Infantry badge is the best of all. That we all admire that, people that have that, and I got it. But that was to fight communists, and I got Distinguished Service Unit Medal, the Sigmund Rhee Citation, which was the president of Korea at the time. We call the medal Sigmund Rhee Citation because he was president, but it's really the Korean medal. And this United Nations medal over here on the left, and in the middle is the Korean War medal with 3 battle stars, and the other 2 are defense medals. And all these here from a guy from the West End, and I was 19 years old fighting communism, and I joined it 2 days after the war broke out to fight communism. And I guess we put a halt to it anyhow. We didn't actually defeat it, but we put a halt to the spreading in our area.
You have some other photos here. Would you like to describe what that is? That's a memorial, right?
This is the Korean War Memorial. The postmaster from Stoughton gave this to me and another guy that served, another guy from Stoughton, Charlie Wade, that we served in Korea. And they gave us this here. It's a medal with the stamps down here. And my granddaughter Ashley had gone to Washington, D.C. to see the Korean War Memorial and took some pictures of the medal, the memorial. I haven't seen it yet. I'd like to go down and see it. And over here, just a picture of me and another picture of me in Korea, just sitting in the Jeep with my rifle.
M1 Garand.
And the M1. That's from the Second World War. We used all the Second World War weapons over again. They were good.
I was in the Coast Guard, and they made us shoot the M1.
And they were good, yeah.
You were shooting those machine guns.
Oh, yeah, the machine gun. In fact, I was a cadre on the 30 caliber air-cooled and water-cooled machine gun in Indian Town, Gap, Pennsylvania, and I was a cadre on 60 millimeter mortar in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And I helped teach the guys coming in, the new guys that were coming in, because all I had was 8 weeks of basic training, and then they gave me 8 weeks advanced basic training, and the sergeant that took a liking to me says, "No, we're going to make you a cadre." I go, "What's a cadre?" He says, "Teach." I said, "I never taught anybody any." He said, "Don't worry, we'll teach you how to teach them." So I helped out, and I did my share helping them out, learning how to march, learning how to shoot the mortars, how to shoot the machine guns, and even throwing hand grenades, but mostly it was the machine guns and the mortars, the 60 millimeter mortars.
And then you went to Korea.
And then I went to Korea after Indian Town, Gap, Pennsylvania. I got in Korea in September, and I got back home in September. So it was 11 months of actual combat.
I think you realize all West Enders, really. I remember when the West End was up, all those, there was a Veterans Club up in the hill.
There's in fact, but we had one on Levitt Street. We called it was called the Bow Vets, and it was the Korean War veterans, and and even if you were in the war, anybody could join. But
that was one of those something. What the hell is the posts? The American Legion posts.
Right.
I think it was the American Legion post up there on. because my mother used to go for bingo because
that
she was a Gold Star. She was a Gold Star mother, and they had the Gold Star mothers, you know, coming into the thing. It's basically a shame what happened, and like I say, we honor all you people, and we think that. I think that you know Peter on Channel 5 Chronicle.
Oh yeah, sure.
What's his name?
Mehegan.
Peter Mehegan.
Sure.
Peter Mehegan's mother was from the West End. Okay, Peter. After she had married, they moved. I think down to Quincy or somewhere on the South Shore of Braintree. But she was from the West End. She used to play the organ in the West End in St. Joseph's Church. And before she died about 2 years ago. She was a great lady, by the way. She wrote me a letter and said, "Is there no end to what those people would do?" You know, she says about the veterans. Because if you go in St. Joseph's Church and you go to the back of the church, right, there's 3 or 4
The plaques.
plaques,
Right.
you know, and they have the names of all the Catholic veterans that served in the war and the ones that died. Like my brother's got a gold star next to him on the thing. And the West End house had this big wall that with all these bronze plaques on it for whoever served in the war too and died. But those are the only 2 places that are, and the West End house is no longer in the West End. The West End house is in Austin.
Yeah.
So it's not even, you know, I can say that, but it's not even really a West End memorial anymore. But you know, we do, all of us, you know, appreciate what you guys did, okay? Because you put your life on the line.
Thank you.
And some of you didn't come back, and those people, there should be. I hope when we have the West End Museum up and going that we can find some, like around Memorial Day or Veterans Day, we'll find ways to honor the veterans that lived and died in the West End, and the ones that served. I don't want to leave anybody out. Myself, I was a peacetime veteran in the Coast Guard, so I don't exactly look upon.
Well, so that was a duty. You know, that was an important thing also because you know we still had things going on all over the world, especially communism.
Well, it didn't start. Like a friend of mine, a buddy of mine, Don Salata, he went through ROTC, and he was going to go for 6 months. He had a choice of either being in the Quartermaster Corps for 2 years from ROTC or going in the infantry for 6 months. So he wanted to get married, so he went into the infantry for 6 months, right? Well, what happened is the war broke out, but the Berlin crisis broke out, and they extended everybody to 2 years anyways.
When I went in, some guys were all ready to get out, and I was in basic training. These guys had already been in 3 years, and they were all ready to get out, and they extended everybody for a year, whether they liked it or not. They had to stay in.
They're doing that now.
And they're doing that now in Iraq.
Unfortunately.
And Afghanistan.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's. I mean, everybody forgets about Afghanistan.
I know.
But there's a lot of action going on there.
I think that's where the main. Well, I'm no defensive expert, but I think that's where the main part of the troops should have been in Afghanistan. Myself.
Yeah, you're probably right.
If they're the ones that did the bombing in New York, I think we should have got them first.
Yeah, there was. I don't know what we're going to do. All I know is that you can't kill every Muslim in the world.
It isn't every Muslim.
Well, I guess that's the end of it. Thank you for coming, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll do this again because
you.
it's just close and dear to my heart. And the rest of you, we'll see you at the next West End Video newsletter.